Not all heroes come wearing capes. Some come smiling with red noses and magic tricks. Meet Pravin Tulpule, a former Navy officer popularly known as Happy the Clown. He's a man who found his purpose bringing smiles to the faces of terminally ill children, making them laugh in the face of certain death. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
So, sir, tell me the story of how does a naval man who is wearing a white, pristine uniform turn into a clown? Where did it begin?
It's very simple. I had a passion for magic all my life, magic and entertaining. I realized when I was entertaining children that they did not really need magic or astonishment. They are actually surprised at anything that happens around them. What they needed was happiness, because children are very sensitive. Anything that happens around them affects them, especially a sad thing, they'll take it back. An adult might look at it, ignore it and walk away. What is important is the child should not carry sadness with him. So I realized and I thought that instead of just making them astonished or getting them astonished by my magic tricks, I should make them happy. And I also realized that more happiness I share with them makes me happier.
Makes you happy. So you are this naval officer who is doing what naval officers do, and somewhere in your career, while you were still serving, you had been doing all of these entertainments, and as you were mentioning earlier, you became kind of the duty uncle during parties, taking care of the kids and entertaining them and all of that. And during one of these gigs, something happens to you which suddenly transforms you and makes you actually leave your commission just 18 months before pensionable service. So I want you to tell me that story.
That's an emotional turning point in my life. I was actually invited to entertain a bunch of children. A family friend had called me, and as always I said yes, committed myself. Only when I went to that venue, I realized that I was expected to entertain a bunch of children, about 35 children. Most of them cancer patients, serious cancer patients, terminally ill patients, bald, wearing hats or caps, somebody or even on a drip. I was not too sure, I was unnerved. I was not too sure I could do it, but I did. And there I met a young child who became very friendly with me. He and I were photographed in different ways. And
this is while you were doing the show that he became friendly with you.
That's right. And we were photographed together. A couple of days later, the child and I was featured in a newspaper, and I was at cloud 9, literally. A couple of days later, the lady who had invited us called me to say, Pravin, remember that child who was there with us? He is no more. And actually, I was waiting to say thank you to that child and his parents. And that is the time she said, Pravin, one very curious and interesting thing, that the child had a few wishes in his list. And one of the wish was he wanted to meet a joker from a circus. That time I realized that perhaps I was instrumental in that last moment of happiness that he ever had towards the end of his journey. Perhaps I was the cause for that, and I could deliver it to him. And I realized this is my calling. I should leave the white uniform away and get into this
happiness uniform.
Happiness uniform.
But this must have been a major decision to leave a profession, and this is how many years ago?
This is about 22 years ago.
22 years ago. Not that clowning is such an acclaimed profession even now, but 22 years ago, people must have called you mad.
They still call me mad for that.
Call you mad. Okay.
But then, it was a very difficult thing to convince my commanding officer, my family and everybody that this is what I want to do. Because had I waited for those 18, 24 months to complete, perhaps that spark would have died down. And what I wanted to do with children and spread more happiness with everybody would never have happened.
I want you to tell me what was your emotional turmoil when you realized that you were the person who probably gave the last happy moment to a dying child. And this child was about 5-6 years old? Yeah. So 5-6 years old, which means basically 2 years of conscious life.
Exactly.
And the last moment of happiness, you were in some ways instrumental.
When I heard that this child had passed, when that lady told me, I was in a shock. I was not sure what had happened. A couple of days, perhaps I could not even sleep. It was difficult to digest that this child who I had met
Just 2 days ago.
2 days ago is no more. There was a thought in my mind that perhaps if I did not meet him that day, he would be alive, but in agony. Not only he, his parents would be in agony. Perhaps today, 2023, he would be alive, but in agony. And it was a good thing, perhaps, that, very sad to say it was a good thing, but he left.
And how did that sort of change you over the period of time, knowing that this is your calling, but on the other hand, the society, I mean, you are a commissioned officer and doing pretty well in the Navy, and then taking a call. I know a lot of not just officers in the armed forces, but also people in the government who, when they want to quit, also somewhere around 14, 15, 16, their thought is कि let me अपना pension service तो पूरा कर लेता हूँ, उसके बाद मैं छोड़ूंगा तो at least there is a safety net of a pension.
True.
And yet you took that decision to say, no, this is my calling and this is what I want to do. Can't have been an easy decision. I actually want to go a little bit deeper into that. What?
It was a very, very difficult decision to take. Like I said, convincing my commanding officer and my seniors was very difficult. Course-mates was a very difficult thing to get them around too. Fortunately, the family supported later on. Dad, mom went with me, family went with me. What was in my favor is I knew I would do well. I had that thing in me that I could reach out to children, empathize with them and make them happy. If not astonished or surprised, I would make them happy, spread a little dose of DOSE that we call.
DOSE?
DOSE is dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and endorphins.
Okay.
Spread it to them so that whatever little recovery they can do for a while, the doctors will be helped with that.
So after that, what happens? How do you, I mean, you have done more than 5,000-6,000 shows till now, shows or interventions, whatever you want to call it, just happiness. I'd like to call it as happiness occasions. How did that come about?
So truth be told, what I do with hospitals and NGOs or serious cancer patients is not a money-making thing. At times I end up spending money from my pocket. To make sure that I get my bread, butter and a little more jam and jelly at home, I do corporate shows, I do events with them, so that there's nobody cribbing, he kept me hungry and he became a clown. That helps me to survive and stay overboard, above board, sorry. And most important is the satisfaction that you get by making that child happy. It's not just the child, like I said. When you're consoling the child, you're telling him, it's okay, we'll get through this. You're also giving a little hope to the parents who are equally stressed. They don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. This treatment going to last for 4 months, 5 months, a year. Whether they'll go back home with the child, without the child. When they go back, would the job be intact or otherwise?
You must have seen several occasions where children who have died, that's sad, but they leave a lot of sadness behind because parents are sad. In many cases, as we were talking about, they are absolutely impoverished by the time the treatment is over and this whole trauma is over in whatever way. And you also come in contact with nurses and doctors. Nurses, as we were discussing.
Come to think about it, the nurses, they have perhaps the most difficult job of it all. Day in and day out, they are meeting these children, unfortunate children who are going through a deadly disease, literally fatal. Yet, with a different look on their face or a smile on their face, they have to keep convincing the child that don't worry, you're getting better. Knowing very well that it is not happening. I can't imagine what happens to them when they go back home and they realize that they have been actually lying through their teeth every single day to every child they meet, these terminally ill children. It must be very traumatic for them. They also need a little relief. Imagine a doctor, a medical professional who knows this child is not going to make it perhaps tomorrow. Imagine his trauma, his agony, that when he has to meet the parents and tell them, sorry my friend, this is not going any positive way, we will have to stop treatment. Difficult.
In your experience, when you are in these sad occasions where you see nurses who are fighting their own sadness, doctors who are trying to be as clinically disassociated as possible, but at the end of the day, they are children, they are lives whom they are trying to save. And you see their trauma of what they go through. Can you tell me what gives them the strength? Of course, your happiness, but what gives them the strength to be able to do this?
It comes from the core that they are trying their best, they are not giving up, very well knowing that there is no positive result in this. But inside they feel that I cannot let the child down. They cannot tell the child on his face, sorry, you're not going to see tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's dawn is not for you. With that conviction, if they're going to still work, the dedication.
And do you remember any instances which you might want to say that I went through this experience when I was with the children or during one of my shows, which actually, I mean, this show is about wisdom of leaders, and leaders don't have to be adults, they don't have to be big CEOs or big politicians. It could be even a child who, knowing fully well that she or he is going through a terminally ill disease, is cheering up people around, is keeping the morale up. Have you had those kind of experiences?
I see only this particular child who was instrumental in my transformation. Perhaps he knew he didn't know that day what is happening. But then he was in his elements. He was moving around like a free bird to an extent that he was so comfortable in my presence that people actually thought he's a part of my troop. So perhaps indirectly he was giving a message to people that yes, I might be sick, I might be very, very sick, but I don't care about it. I'm going to live my life.
Do you think children handle trauma better than adults?
Do they? They can't express, perhaps they don't have the vocabulary, emotional or the language vocabulary to express what they're going through. But I'm sure they have a similar trauma that you and I as an adult would have. We express, we might tell people I'm going through a depression or something. The child cannot, he might just keep quiet. But he certainly feels it more than we do. They're more empathetic. Anything that happens around them, a little sad thing or a negative thing, affects them more.
And in this journey of 20-25 years that you have gone through, we were discussing, you talked about Dr. Patch Adams, which I want to tell the viewers is actually, you should watch the movie. Robin Williams starred in that movie called Patch Adams, Dr. Patch Adams. And you're known as India's Patch Adams. I would want you to tell the viewers a little bit about that character and how you are sort of emulating that character's life in your own life.
Basically, it's a very simple case where you keep aside your own issues, you keep aside whatever problems or negativity you might be facing at home, at work or wherever, and concentrate on the other person, making sure that you or your persona does not surface. Mm-hmm. The child takes priority. If I visit a hospital and there's a child there, I would not barge into his ward or his room or his bed. I'll take permission from him. Mm-hmm. So he realizes he's an identity, he is an individual. He's not just a number on the chart. Makes him feel important. He exists. Similarly, anywhere you go, if you give a relevance to the person's existence, it starts making him happier.
Describe to me a typical show that you go for, especially when you go to the hospitals.
Actually, there's nothing typical about it because every show is different. Okay. Every show, the audience is different. At times, I have ambulatory kids around there who can move around. At times, they are on wheelchairs or being carried by children. But the excitement is same. They are there to have a good time with the clown, and I try and not let them down. I play a very goofy type of a character where I do not at times even remember my name. Mm-hmm. I call a boy a girl, I miscall colors, and I give them the power to control me.
To correct you.
Mm-hmm. That is the happiest thing that can happen. Married people will realize. Okay. Right? You give your controls to somebody else. I keep calling a boy a girl a boy, or the colors are mixed. They keep correcting me. They realize he is a fool, he is an idiot. Unless he is guided by me, magic is not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the effect or the show, they realize that they were the real magicians who did the magic, or they feel that. And I was just a stooge who was handling the prop, and they were the heroes. And I am always ready to give it to them. I try to pull gags with the nurses, the sisters, because I make them pretend that the nurses are troubling them with their medicines and all those things. Mm-hmm. And we try and pull a gag with the nurses and all. The nurses are very, very sportive and supportive. and the children love it.
There is a lot of work that is happening in the space of medical care where they're now realizing that it's morale and the will and the happiness that actually are the real antibodies which keep that fighting spirit alive. I want you to expand on that a little bit.
I start actually with two things. The first one being the lower my expectations of others, the greater is the chance of my being satisfied. And the more I am satisfied, the more I am happy. The more I am happy, the lesser are my negative thoughts. And the lesser my negative thoughts, my morale is high. So it's a chain that only keeps going up. It doesn't have a curve to come down. Similarly, I apply it in life or everywhere. Everywhere it is applicable. The lower my expectations of others or anything that's going to happen, I'm going to be a happier man. Nothing else than that.
You spoke when we were talking before the show about the need for happiness, that everybody has a need for happiness.
Yes, everybody needs happiness. The small children who are there in front of me, they don't know what is happening with them. They are perhaps sad because of their sickness. They need happiness. The sisters, the nurses who are handling them, like I said earlier, they are lying to them day in and day out. They need happiness. The parents of the children who are going through a trauma, not knowing what's going to happen a few days from now, they need happiness. The doctors medically at times feeling frustrated and helpless that I cannot take on this child's case and he's going to leave us soon. They need happiness. So you need happiness. My friends out there, they need happiness. We all need happiness because without happiness, nothing works.
And where do you find this? I mean, time after time after time you have to go through this. And I know it gives you joy, but it must also be leaving you bruised and scarred.
Oh no,
inside.
I've got a very simple remedy for that.
Oh, you do?
Yes. See, I started off as a magician and I ended up as a clown. So I have found out the perfect recipe for that. It's called the magic powder.
You're kidding me.
No. I couldn't have survived in this dark world like this, right? It's very simple. You just every day open it in the morning after you get up, pop out a little, snack it, close it, and your day is perfect. You're going for a cricket match, you're going for anything, a surgical operation, a clinical operation or whatever. All you need is a single dose of magic powder. I know it's difficult to believe me, but let's try it out. I'll give it to you.
I'm open to trying it out.
Sit down, please, comfortably.
All right.
What I want you to do is manifest your thought. Because trust me, I have given it to hundreds and thousands of people. The best of professionals come to me for this. Yeah, cricketers, scientists, and actors, you name it and they come to me. Because this is this is a magic dose. All you got to do is think about what you want in life.
Okay.
Yeah? Focus, focus, focus. Apart from that, you got to have faith in me. It's like a very small, innocent child. You have to have faith. You have faith. As soon as you've done that, open the box, pop a couple of them and pop it in your mouth and done.
Okay. So I manifest what I think of what I want.
Yes.
And how much of the powder?
Just a little bit, 2 pinches. See, you see now? There's nothing called magic powder. Magic powder doesn't work. Like you rightly said earlier, there's nothing called a silver bullet. It's a feeling within you. That is the magic powder. There is happiness in each one of us. All we got to do is bring it out. There's so much of sadness around us. Yes, it is there. But the little bit of happiness within you can be brought out and can be spread everywhere. And exactly, my friends, you too, watching us, just get that little bit of happiness out of you, let it propagate, let it grow, and all will be fine.
Thanks a ton, Happy, the clown, for coming to this show and giving us an amazing view into life, magic, happiness, and love.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a ton.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Happy, I think you forgot your bag here.
Me?
Yep.
Oh, yes, I actually forgot. This is my collection bag.
Collection bag.
Every show I go, everywhere I go, I carry this because I always come back with something. I never come back empty-handed.
So, what do you need
Me?
from me?
Not just from you. I need it from everybody there. everybody there. Will you call somebody and I can
Yeah,
take
sure.
it
Gaurav?
there? Lovely. Welcome, sir. What I need is your love. Can you drop it inside this? And Captain, your love?
I love. There you go.
And love from them also?
All of them.
Love, affection,
Affection.
happiness, your patriotism,
There you go.
your Deshbhakti and everything. Because when I toss it up nicely like this,